Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss M. And I'm back with yet another video. Hope you all are doing well. The weekend is upon us. I'm doing this video in the evening on Friday night, September 1st. And this is going to be a long weekend. This is supposed to be the weekend with the holiday that I think officially signals the end of summer as we know it. Back to work, back to school, back to the drudgery that we like to think we avoid in the summertime, but we don't really. But anyway, I'm back, and I'm back today with a video, one of the videos that I promised you. I'm going to do my art history 101, very, very, very informal lecture. I've already done a couple of videos. I did way back when I first started this channel. I did Mesopotamia. I think I did like 2 videos about Mesopotamia, and I think I did one video about prehistoric art. This one is going to be very, very casual, and it's just for you to enjoy. How about that? I'm going to go through some slides. It's going to be like a classroom presentation. Some of you might love it. Some of you might hate it. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to feel. Lately, I've been working on some stuff with regard to my study of Kubrickology. My latest video, Oppenheimer, The Summer of 42, and The Shining, I'm hoping you're enjoying it. I'm hoping that you can see the possibilities of what I'm saying in that video. I've got more. Okay? I think there is more than what I said in this video about the summer of 42 and why I believe that Stanley Kubrick wants his viewers, at least for the movie The Shining, to be aware of the summer of 1942 during the Second World War. And you're going to have to watch the video to find out why I think that Stanley wants us to specifically be aware of the summer months, one in particular, of 1942. And in my next video discussing this topic, I'm going to build on that. Because I realized, unfortunately, you guys, I am not very good at sleeping. I'm not one of those people who could just lie down and fall asleep and stay asleep for 8 hours. Oh, good heavens, no. I'm the kind of person who thinks a lot. And I wish I could do something about it. I wish I could just switch off the machine. But no, it's just like, my brain is kind of like the refrigerator. Remember, this is for people of my generation, but maybe you younger folks, maybe you've heard of it too. What we used to do back in the 80s and 90s, we used to just, especially if you were home all day and your parents were at work and TV was not what it is now, and we certainly didn't have the internet and cell phones and whatever, we would just pick up the phone and start calling people. Okay? We would just dial some random numbers. And there was no such thing as caller ID. And nobody knew it was you calling. And that's obnoxious. Our parents should have knocked the shit out of us for doing that. But the thing is, they didn't know. And there was no way for them to know. Because, again, we didn't have cell phone technology that tracks your every, phone call. Again, we did not have caller ID. None of that. So you could just call anybody. I mean, anybody. And, people would pick up the phone when you called, and then they would, they would hang up when they realized it was just a crank call. And there was that old joke, is your refrigerator running? Right? You remember? Remember that joke? I do. I never used it because it was, kind of dumb. But I know people who did. I know people who did. And I said that because, my brain is kind of like that. The refrigerator is always running because the damn thing is plugged in all the time. It's not the kind of machine that switches on and off. It's always on. It's always working. Kind of like like Butters says in South Park, my stupid psychotic brain. It just does its own thing and I can't stop it. I wish I could. But anyway, so I'm going to add more to this, what I was talking about in this Summer of 42 video that I did 2 days ago, it says here. I needed to take a day off. I was tired, y'all. Oh, I was tired. It's been hot down here in Los Angeles. I'm sick of it. I've had it. I don't like hot weather. Never have, never will. And this is the part of the year that is especially hot down here in Southern California. Okay, it's especially freaking hot. Oh, oof. I just can't. I just freaking can't. But you know what? Never mind all that. We're here to have fun today. We're here to have like a very informal art history lecture, if you could even call it that. So let me do my church announcements, get that out the way, and let's get to talking. And I don't even know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to put up some slides that I got a hold of. Don't ask me how, but I got a hold of them. And I'm just going to talk, damn it, based on what you see. And you're going to see it too. If you see an image, they all have captions. They all have titles and dates and what have you. You could go look up that image for yourself and see whether or not, if it intrigues you. Go ahead. Go ahead and do your own research. I bet you'll enjoy it. Anyway, returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. And each and every single last one of you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the videos. If you know somebody who might enjoy this foolery, feel free. I don't have anything to plug today. I told you I already spent my little coupon that I got. I've been guzzling iced coffee like there's no tomorrow. With this heat, you better believe I have. And and I got more shit to do tomorrow. It's Saturday. This weekend is Labor Day weekend. It's supposed to be the last bash of the summer. Okay. I just need the temperatures to cool down. That's all I want. That's all I want. Everywhere I turn, it's pumpkin spice, everything. I told you about that already. We got pumpkins to buy outside of the grocery store in those big ass cardboard boxes. We got pumpkins. We got pumpkin spice oatmeal, pumpkin spice cereal, Pop-Tarts, coffee creamer. Oh, you name it. It's all over the place. And that's okay. When I see pumpkin spice, I know it's my favorite time of the year. The fall. I love autumn. But anyway, you guys, let's get into it. If you guys have anything to contribute, right? I read some of your comments, and Rich Linlaw, yes, I will be watching. If you're listening, Rich Linlaw, I will be watching more Stanley Kubrick movies. Hopefully I'll get to work and do that, like maybe over the weekend when I have a little time. I'm thinking of watching definitely Dr. Strangelove, and maybe Clockwork too. I need to solve this puzzle. I must. I must. I must. And yes, I do believe that Stanley was making, at least in The Shining, maybe in his other movies too, a very, very strong commentary about nuclear weapons. And not just nuclear weapons, but their inventor, or their alleged inventor. J. Robert Oppenheimer was known as the father of the atomic bomb. Okay? And I'm going to have to do a mashup between Stanley and Stanley's movies and Twin Peaks, and my God. Ugh. But I love it. I love every second of it. I wish I could. I wish this could be like, maybe not my job, but definitely a nice little side hustle for me. Anyway, so let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. Anyway, here we go. Now, I got this. Don't tell anybody. But I got me a copy of this. All right? And we're going to go through each and every chapter. This is an art history textbook, my good people. And this is a classic. All right? This is a classic. It's called, as you can see here on the slide, Gardner's Art Through the Ages. This is the 16th edition, published during that fateful year of 2020, when we had our marvelous little quarantine. And, basically we're all under mass house arrest. And that's when they published the 16th edition of this book in 2020. It's called Art Through the Ages. It's called Gardner's Art Through the Ages. But the editor, I think, is somebody named Fredes Kleiner. Listen, Gardner. And I forget the lady's first name, but her surname was Gardner. I looked all this up, y'all. The first edition of this textbook, which is still available to this day and used in art history courses to this day, the first edition of this textbook was published in 1926. And they didn't even have color photography. I've seen copies of it on archive.org. They just had pen and ink illustrations of the artwork, like sculptures, things like that. And I said, wow. And this textbook has stood the test of time, and it's with us still to this day. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some slides. Maybe not all of them. There's, in the chapter that we're dealing with here, the Stone Age, prehistoric artwork, we've only got a total of like 31 slides, and not all of those slides are pictures. Some of them are just stuff that I'd rather not deal with. What part of the world are we dealing with when we talk about the Stone Age, especially in a scholastic or academic context? Well, look, we've got a map. Gardner's very conveniently provided us with a map. This is Europe. Okay, Stone Age sites in Europe. So we got Ireland, England, Germany, France, Austria, Spain, and we got Portugal over there, but we don't see the name. I am so sorry, Anno Domini. I don't know why they do that to Portugal all the time, but they do. Italy, Africa. They put Malta, but they didn't put Portugal. Really? Okay. All right. And we have North Africa up here. And then after that we have, I guess, the part of the world that we would now refer to as the Middle East or the Near East. We've got Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, and what have you. Okay, there's the Mediterranean Sea. You got Jericho over here, the Nile River over here. Okay, the Euphrates River, the Tigris River, which will become extremely important. The next time I do one of these videos, we're going to do Mesopotamia and the cradle of civilization. Okay. And they even got a globe up in the upper right-hand corner of this picture, and it shows you a little square. That's the part of the world we're dealing with here, and then this is the part of the world we're dealing with here. So, Europe and the Near East, the Middle East, have this connection that it's hard to explain. Like, geographically, they're especially by, I guess, American standards, they're not that far away from each other. But in this part of the world, this is worlds away from each other. So many different cultures, so many different languages, religions, you name it. And I want to show you stuff in this presentation that the Stone Age is kind of famous for. Okay, the Stone Age is famous for cave paintings. All right, and you've probably seen this already in some place, in a magazine, on a TV show, something. This is the Hall of Bulls in the cave at Lascaux in France, and this is circa 16,000 to 14,000 BCE. And it says to here that the largest bull, and I think that's this one over here on the right, it measures 11 feet and 6 inches long. That's a big ass bull. Okay? That's a big ass bull. And it's an outline drawing that I don't know what material specifically they used. Was it charcoal? Was it something like that? And as you can see, it's not just this largest bull is not the only image in this cave. Okay, there's a whole bunch of other animals. There's like horses, other bulls, this thing up here that I can't make out. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And what makes it especially crazy is, well, okay, so this what we're dealing with, the prehistoric world, the Stone Age world. We're dealing with the world of the Ice Age. And, okay, apparently, allegedly during the Ice Age, everything was basically frozen over. The climate was extremely harsh, unforgiving, cold, okay? And the number one concern of people living in the parts of the world that I showed you on the map at the time, that's the parts of the world that we're concentrating on, their main concern was survival. Okay, food, clothing, shelter. Food, clothing, shelter. That's what they wanted to make sure was secured. And that sounds pretty easy, but not really. If they wanted to eat something, they had to kill it first. If they wanted somewhere warm and safe to sleep, they had to make preparations and do a bunch of work. Everything that they had to make with their own hands. And it seems like, when you think about it, it seems like a very harsh, unforgiving, difficult kind of life to be living at that time with that kind of climate. I don't envy them. Let's just put it that way. But the thing about the Stone Age, the prehistoric world, is that apparently, if we're going to believe these dates that the experts have set up for us, apparently they still had time to make art. In the middle of all of that, right? This survival, or trying to survive, trying to make sure you had enough food to eat, trying to make sure you didn't get eaten by some wild, ferocious, very hungry animal. In the middle of all of that, they still had a little bit of free time, and they they made this art. Did they live in caves? Possibly. I don't know. Did they live in some kind of makeshift or kind of nomadic shelter? Possibly. I don't know. But what I do know is that when you look at prehistoric art, when you really kind of study it, the artwork is very, very obsessed, or the artists, the people who made these images, were obsessed with animals. So when you look at prehistoric art, you're gonna see a lot of pictures of animals. A lot of bovine creatures, oddly enough. Bulls, bison, that kind of thing. Well, that's when I say bovine creatures. I mean, I guess sheep could also be bovine creatures, but you know what I mean, right? I don't know why they were obsessed with that animal, the bull, the bison, bovine creatures, but they were, because they kept drawing them over and over and over again in these caves, that are not easily accessible. Okay? These are not caves that you just walk right in and that's it, end of story. Oh, good heavens, no. No, 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 no. These places where they did these cave paintings, according to what I've read, these are not just at the mouth of the cave. They're deep inside of the cave. Again, according to what I've read or what I've been exposed to. So these people who were alive at the time, 16 to 14,000 BCE, so about 18 or so thousand years ago, they would find a cave and they would go deep into that cave, in parts of the cave that were very difficult to get to, and they would make these pictures. of these animals on the wall. And, in addition to that, not only were these caves not easily accessible, but they were dark. Okay? We're not dealing with a world when we look at this. We're not dealing with the world with people who had access to electricity or flashlights or anything like that. No, so when they got in the cave, I mean, maybe they lit their way with some kind of torch while they were trying to get to the part of the cave that they wanted to get to. And of course, while they were there making this art, they also needed some kind of light source to illuminate the walls so they could see what they were doing. And on top of that, they needed to take their stuff with them, their art supplies, whatever materials they used to make these pictures. So now you're getting maybe a better idea of the amount of effort it took to get in here and bring all their stuff with them and then finally make these paintings. So whatever the purpose of these paintings in these caves, whatever the purpose was, it must have been very important to them for them to go to all of that trouble. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, they didn't do this just 'cause. I don't think this was just a hobby. These were not quote unquote Sunday painters. This meant something to them. This meant something to the prehistoric Stone Age people. And my suspicion is that it might have even meant something in a religious sense, in a spiritual sense. They might have had some kind of belief system where possibly these animals that you see on the caves and some others that we're going to see in other slides that I'm going to show you, maybe these slides are deities or were considered to be deities by the prehistoric people. Or maybe they were considered representations. Each individual different animal was maybe considered a representation of this, that, or the other deity that they might or could have believed in. What could that have been? That's another question. What kind of deities did they believe? If they believed in anything, we don't know. What if they believed in anything? We don't know. What did they believe in? What kind of deities did they believe in? We don't know. Why don't we know? Because that's why it's called prehistory. That's why we don't know. Prehistory means this is a time before writing and a time before people just developed written language and left written records. So that's why we have no idea, really, what the hell they were up to in the Stone Age. And that's why we just, all we have left over of these people that were alive at that time, as far as records, if you could even call them that, is their art. The pictures in the caves, the little figures that got dug up in various places. And, the researchers, archaeologists, scholars, what have you, are trying to this day, they're trying to figure out like what the hell was going on back then and why. For example, one issue like what I've just mentioned to you, were these people seemingly obsessed with bulls, bovine creatures? Why did they care so much about bulls or animals in general? Was it a religious thing? I don't know. That's just a speculation. My speculation, not just my speculation. Other, people who are much smarter than me and much more skilled than me in this area of thought and endeavor have thought the same thing. Like, was the very act, people, was possibly the very act, the very process of creating these paintings a religious ceremony in its own right? Drawing this bull, drawing this horse, drawing these other creatures that I can't make out down here in this dark, deep-ass cave, and risking, in some cases, life and limb to get to these parts of the cave to do these drawings? Was that a religious ceremony or ritual or whatever? And the process of drawing itself, the process of drawing the animal itself, was that maybe done by a specialized, a person with specialized knowledge, skill, whatever? Who knows? Who knows? It could mean anything. It could be anything. And the beauty of studying prehistoric art or culture or whatever is you get to guess. You get to guess because you have no choice but to guess because they didn't leave any written records. That comes later with Mesopotamia. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so obsessed with things like Egyptian hieroglyphs or the Hebrew alphabet or the Greek alphabet or stuff like that, because the writing system and the letters come from pictures. Okay? Maybe I'll save that for a couple of minutes later, but let me show you. Maybe I'll go take a coffee break and then I'll show you. Then I'll talk about this thing, okay? And we can talk about more of them. This is the next thing I'll talk about. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this, this, this. More bulls. Oh my. Another little bull. Okay. Some more. This is not bull. It says bison, but same thing. Bovine creature. Okay. Horses. Horses. More horses. Okay. And finally, this is the last thing that I want to talk about. Is it the last thing? Okay, there's some more animals, so we can look at those. I'm not going to talk about Stonehenge and what have you, or architecture of any kind in this presentation, because not because I don't enjoy it really, but because that's like a whole nother pair of pants. And I don't know if I have the time or the patience to talk about architecture, but that's kind of a specialized thing, in my opinion. So let me go get a little bit of coffee, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about this, which I find very interesting. I'm going to also show you a couple of links that I found with regard to Stone Age writing, a potential discovery of a potential writing system. That might shed some light on everything else that I'm concerned with on this channel, specifically Kubrickology and now also Lynchology. So stay tuned, you guys. I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I am back. So we just talked about caves and bulls, bison, bovine creatures, and what might have been going on in the prehistoric world during the Ice Age with these hunter-gatherer societies in the Paleolithic, the Mesolithic, the Neolithic, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm not concentrating on those technical issues in this presentation. What I'm concentrating on is the art. For lack of a better word, art. Art is not a perfect word. It just ain't. And I think I've done a video about it, but I don't think very many people watched it. But art is difficult. Art, when you really think about it, when you really sit down and have a good long think about it, it just doesn't make sense. This thing that we call art, that basically rules our entire world, let me go to the other slide, doesn't really make sense. Maybe I should do another video about that. But art is something that we believe is absolutely necessary to human existence. And it might very well be necessary to human existence. But if it is, and it's been with us from the looks of it since the Stone Age, since prehistory, and if it is an absolute necessity that human beings can't live without, my question is always why? Because I don't believe that anything exists without some kind of purpose. Okay, so prehistoric, again, for lack of a better word, art, is dominated by images of animals, and more animals, and they're drawn in a very particular way, usually in profile, almost always in profile, because the profile view is the most informative view. You kind of immediately get a good idea of what animal you're looking at. You can identify it pretty quickly. The physical features of the whatever animal is in question or whatever. But they also had figures like this one. This is from Germany, the Holstein, from Holstein Stadel, Germany, circa 40,000 to 35,000 BCE. I'm pretty sure that's definitely in the Paleolithic period. Paleo means old and lithic means stone. Okay, and that's one of the reasons, like, I don't have an extensive knowledge of prehistoric art. No, I don't. I have a rudimentary knowledge. And that's why I was kind of so obsessed with the monolith, the idea of the monolith in Stanley Kubrick's movies, specifically 2001, and that, the beginning of the movie and the monolith is seen throughout the film, and mono means one and lith means stone. So whatever you're looking at, when it's called a monolith, it's made of one continuous piece of stone. um and again, the ancient people, uh, Stone Age people, Mesopotamian people, Egyptians, etc. The stuff that we have left over from those cultures is still there because it's made of stone. If it's something that was exposed to the elements, if it's something that was buried, it might be a different material. But architecture and things, stone. Okay, so that's maybe, I think, why Stanley chose something like that. But that is that a discussion for another time? I don't know. But what we're looking at here in this slide, the human with a feline, in parentheses, lion question mark head. I don't even know if they're sure about if is this a feline. The face, the head of this thing does look kind of like a lion, or a puma or something like that. I don't know. Um, and it's a human body. Okay, it says human with feline head. So, most cats do not walk on two legs. That we know that. So again, this is Paleolithic, 40,000 to 35,000 BCE. Woolly mammoth ivory is the material that was used to make this thing. Woolly mammoth ivory. That's huge. So we're dealing with a time period when woolly mammoths were not extinct. And they had a piece of ivory big enough to make this figure, which is about 12 inches, 11 and 5/8 inches high. So about a foot tall. Okay. And you look at this thing and you kind of wonder, like, what the hell is going on with it? Right? What possessed them to carve this thing? Okay, maybe, possibly, what I was speculating a little while ago, the same thing that possessed them to make these cave paintings. Maybe this is a religious thing. And, I would look at a figure like this and I would wonder, can I compare this to something in the modern world that you and me, anybody listening to me right now, could or would be familiar with in the modern world that we all live in now? And then one day it hit me. Yes, this is relatable to us in the modern world. Uh, and it's actually going to happen pretty soon, within the next 2 months. Halloween. Halloween is a situation or an event or whatever where people dress up like all kinds of characters, um, including animals. You can wear an animal costume, I guess, for your Halloween costume. And Halloween, grown-ups in the United States, children dress up for Halloween. We all loved it when we were kids. I think it was in its own way even more fun back in the day than it is now for the kids. Um, Times have changed. Things have gotten more dangerous and whatever. I don't suggest that you let your little ones just go roaming all by themselves from house to house to house. But that's what people used to do. They used to let their kids just run around on Halloween dressed in costumes, whatever kind of costume they wanted to dress up as, a cartoon character, a superhero, a popular character from a movie or a TV show or whatever, and just run around on Halloween begging for food, door to door, begging for food. Um, candy, usually candy. For my viewers who are not from the United States, that's what we do on Halloween. Every year on October 31st, suburban residential streets turn into pandemonium, like just throngs of children um, go. Thank goodness, they're supervised by their parents, but they go from house to house to house, knocking on strangers' doors, begging for candy. And if this is the rule again, if you're not American, this is how it works. If the porch light is on in front of the house, that means they are willing to accept trick-or-treaters, and that's what the children are called, trick-or-treaters. And they do give out candy at that house. If the porch light is not on, don't go over there. Don't bother those people. They're not here for the foolery. Okay? And that's what I thought when I saw this human with a feline head. Um, this is somebody in a costume, very, very similar to possibly a Halloween costume. And I think Halloween and the way it's celebrated in the United States is very unique to the United States. Um, and like I said, back in the day, Halloween was just, or like the Halloween festivities was just kind of for October or the second half of October. Oh no, now we get started in August. I told you there's pumpkins everywhere already. Pumpkins, pumpkin spice, you name it. But the point of the holiday, it has something to do with literally what is called pandemonium, right? Pandemonium, when we use that word, it's pandemonium means that like everything that could possibly go wrong is going wrong. But what pandemonium literally means is like, the spirits have taken over. The ghosts and the spirits or what have you have come back from the other side, and they are creating complete chaos. That's what pandemonium means. And that's what happens on Halloween. The little children are dressed up like they're supposed to be dressed up as ghouls and goblins and ghosts and monsters and whatever. But in this case, maybe it's not a monster. Maybe this figure is either representing a religious figure, like again, a deity that happens to be associated with cats, excuse me, cats, big cats, lions, whatever. Or another possibility is that this figure is representing a human being who is dressed up like a big cat, like a lion. And why would a human being be dressed up like a big cat, a lion? Maybe this is a religious figure. Maybe this is a religious person. Maybe this is a priest. Maybe this is a shaman, a magician, something like that. Okay, and they're dressed for, their version of some kind of religious ceremony way, way, way back then in the Paleolithic prehistoric world in Germany. Okay, I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's worth considering that possibility, right? I don't know about you, but and if that is a possibility, if that is like a serious possibility, that what we're really looking at is some kind of shaman dressed for a religious ceremony, like what are the implications of that? So that possibly means that these prehistoric people were not as, I don't know what word to use. They're not as dumb as we've been taught that they were. They had a culture. They had a culture that meant something to them and that they celebrated or that they were serious about. And they had religion, and they had a belief in this, that, or the other deity, or this, that, or that, or the other creation story, or afterlife story, or whatever. So there's that. Okay, so there's that possibility. Let's keep it moving. Now we get to see the pictures of the naked ladies. Okay, and that again, that immediately makes me think of The Shining. Hello. We've got this one. It's called Nude Woman, also known as the Venus of Willendorf. From Willendorf, Austria, 28,000 to 25,000 BCE. And again, I think I've explained this in other videos, but it bears repeating. BCE stands for before the Common Era. Okay? Used to be BC and AD. Now it's before the Common Era and then just Common Era after the birth of Christ. It's made of limestone, and the Venus, the nude woman, is 4¼ high, and it is located in the Naturhistorisches Museum in Vienna, Austria. Now, this thing, again, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. They found her somewhere, they dug her up somewhere, and she looked like this. Okay? And she's commonly referred to as a fertility figure. She's pretty famous, by the way. Like, she's been studied and analyzed and what have you by all kinds of researchers and whatever. And people cannot figure out what's going on. Why does she look the way she looks? Why does her body, especially, look the way that her body looks? She has, obviously very big bosoms. She has a very big stomach. Kind of chubby little legs. No feet. No feet. Her pubic area is very pronounced. Her breasts are very pronounced. She has a big belly button. My goodness. She has very narrow shoulders. And she has no neck. Okay? No neck. And an enormous round head with no face. No face, like whatsoever. And if she does have a face, it's covered by this thing that looks like a beanie that's been pulled like completely over the head and covering the face. I don't know what the hell's going on here. And she has these skinny, I don't know if you can see the lines of demarcation, but like these skinny little arms, and then her forearm, the front part of her arm, and her hands are covering the tops of her boobs. Okay. That's not a halter top. No, that's her forearms across each of her breasts. Like, what is going on? What in the world is going on with this figure? Again, she's regularly, usually referred to as a fertility figure. How do we know? We don't. We don't know. There's no way to know. And like I said, when you look at prehistoric art, you're going to see a lot of images of animals, and you're going to see a lot of images of women. Hardly ever, like hardly ever, any images of men, which is weird. Very weird. Except for, stuff like this. This is probably a man, I would assume. But then again, I could be wrong. But this, obviously not a man. Obviously a woman, and obviously a big woman. And the question is, like, how did she get fat? If the question is, how could anybody who looks like her have ever existed during this time in history when food was so scarce and the survival conditions were pretty bad? Really bad weather. Again, a hunter-gatherer society, a nomadic society that moved from place to place to place. They would basically follow their food supply around the animals that they hunted. And they would maybe live in one area for however long and then deplete the animal supply for their food source in that area. And when they were done depleting that, they would move to another place. And then, just like that in perpetuity. And it's hard to get fat living like that. They were not living a sedentary lifestyle. Like I said, it was cold. They were concerned with securing food and a warm place to sleep or live. and, just battling the elements and nature. So is this, this figure, the fertility figure, allegedly, the Venus of Willendorf, um, okay, so she might represent fertility, but what kind of fertility? Fertility is not just baby making, but it's also like, food, finding food, having food, fertility among the animals that are being hunted by these people for their food. That's maybe another aspect of it. And also, maybe the Venus of Willendorf is an aspirational image, maybe to people living in such a harsh environment and having such a harsh life. Her and her figure and her extra adipose tissue to them represented the good life, luxury, maybe somebody who didn't have to struggle and work so hard to survive, somebody who, according to, based on how this figure looks, she had pretty easy access to food. And probably having pretty easy access to food means maybe in that time period for these people was their version of wealth or abundance. I don't know. I don't know because this carries over. That's why I'm saying this. This idea carries over into the modern world, using the female form as something aspirational. It's done every day. In advertising on social media, women are photographed with all kinds of products. That's how those products are sold, by being accompanied or pictured with, beautiful women. But our version of beautiful women definitely doesn't have anything to do with this. Our version of beautiful women, they're tall, they're skinny, they're blonde, they have breast implants, they, that kind of thing. But women's bodies have always been used, seems like, always been used to either sell a product, like we're used to with advertising and the internet and social media and Instagram and whatever. But women's bodies are not used just to sell products. They're used to sell ideas. Okay? Um, when you look at images in advertising, basically that advertising or those images or whether it's a print ad or something you see on the internet or a commercial on TV or the TV show itself or the movie itself or whatever, the play, what have you, the artwork itself, it's didactic. Okay, that thing is there not just to entertain you, no, not just to sell you a product in the case of advertising, no. It's there to teach you something. That's what the word didactic means. It's there to kind of put ideas in your head, as your mother might say. And those ideas are what you should want your life to look like. You should live in a certain kind of house with certain kind of furniture and drive a certain kind of car and eat certain kinds of food and wear certain kinds of clothes and shoes and go certain places for your entertainment, and so on and so forth. And you should have a certain set of values. And all of those things are dictated to you or taught to you by the media that you consume on a daily basis. All the while you're thinking you're just having fun, you're just getting entertained. Oh, good heavens, no, 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 no. Everything you look at, you're getting an education, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. And is the Venus of Willendorf like a very, very, very early example of that? Is she aspirational, like I said? Is she there to tell you what kind of value, or if you were a prehistoric person, is part of her purpose to tell you what kind of things you should be striving for in life? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. I'm just speculating. I'm just thinking out loud. And the fact that she has no face means that she also has no identity? Maybe. Maybe. Is this possibly a pornographic image? I don't know. I just don't know. But all kinds of possibilities are on the table. Yeah, all kinds of possibilities are possible, right? With regard to a figure like this. Uh, and there's lots of debate. Oh, ever so many people have written ever so many things about her. I don't know if any of them got it right. I'm pretty sure I didn't get it right right now. I'm just, again, I have no idea. But I wanted you to see this because there's a pretty famous prehistoric art image. Okay, there's also this one, the head of the woman from the Grotte du Pape in Bossin-Puy, France. Another woolly mammoth ivory figure. This is located in France. It's 1.5 inches high. You can see that it was probably part of something larger, like a larger figure, maybe like a Barbie doll, or the prehistoric world's version of a Barbie doll. She seems to even have like this kind of um, f- uh, fracture on the side over here, and yeah, they think it's a female figure just because of the shape of the face. I don't know if they were ever able to locate the rest of her, the body. Um, and, this thing on her head, is this supposed to represent hair? Is it supposed to represent a veil? I have no idea. But again, it's female. I think it's a female figure. They're not sure, but uh, the, the very fact that you don't see a lot of male figures in prehistoric art makes it more probable that this is a representation of a female. And again, why? What's going on here? Art, in my opinion, is never made for no reason, especially art that's disseminated or viewed on a mass scale. Um, It's always made for a reason. It's always made with a goal in mind. It always has a job to do. And what did these images, what job did they have to do at the time when they were new and being used and looked at by the people who were alive at the time? I don't know. I just don't know. We also have this woman holding a bison horn from Locelle, France, 25,000 to 20,000 BCE, painted limestone. Okay. Again, a woman with extra tissue, extra fat tissue on her body, droopy breasts, a big tummy. She might even be pregnant. Big, wide, boxy hips. No face, if she, at least not anymore. Maybe it had a face at one time, but it got destroyed for whatever reason. And she's holding a bison horn. Don't forget, these people are obsessed with bison. There's so many of them drawn in these caves. And she's holding not the animal itself, but just one part of the bison, the horn. So that's a representation of the animal. And the question is why? Is this another fertility figure? Is this an aspirational figure? Is this, something that has to do with luxury, abundance, wealth, or whatever religious or social values that were around at the time? Is that embodied or represented by this figure, the woman holding a bison horn? And is the bison horn itself a representation of wealth, abundance, luxury, what have you? So many things to consider. Then we also have this thing, the reclining woman, and they put this drawing down here just so you could get a better idea, because up here it's hard to make out, but down here it becomes a little bit more obvious. You can see the leg, you can see the arms. She looks like she's, literally reclining, just chilling on the lazy boy. Um, it's a rock cut relief on the right wall of the first corridor in the middle cave at La Magdalene des Albis, France, circa 12,000 BCE. I think that is in the Neolithic period. And if you want to understand what was going on, what kind of technology, what kind of technology was around at that time, or from the Paleo to the Meso to the Neolithic, go ahead and look that up on your own. It is interesting. I'm not necessarily talking about that here, or I'm not really concerned with that here. Although it is, it's a part of the story. It's important. It's worth looking into. But what we're looking at now is the images. And these are images, mind you. These are images, and I told you the title of the textbook that this comes from. And I told you how long that textbook has been around. Since 1926. Helen, that was the name of the lady who originally started with this textbook that's been around for almost a century. 1926 to now, 2023. Helen Gardner, okay, started Gardner's Art Through the Ages, is still with us. And these are the images that are shown to students in art history courses, survey art history courses, at least throughout the United States. Probably not in other parts of the world, but this is a uniquely American textbook. It's a standard textbook. I told you I took art history courses back in the day. That's the textbook that we used, is still being used. I don't think it's ever going away. Yeah, no. And this is what's shown to students. This is what the world of art education, art history education wants them to know about if they never ever take another art history class ever again. These are the images that I'm showing you now that the establishment want the students to be aware of as far as their education with regard to prehistoric art. Specifically now, we're talking about prehistoric Stone Age art. What the hell is going on? Okay, what in the ooh, what is going on? Okay, again, lots of naked ladies. And Stanley showed us a little bit of that too. In The Shining, in Eyes Wide Shut. What's going on with the naked ladies? What's going on with the bison and the bulls, bovine creatures? Are they related? Do they represent the same thing or a similar thing? Abundance, wealth, freedom from lack or hunger or whatever. I don't know. Here's another one. This is a relief in the Les Tucs de Oudobert cave, France, 15,000 to 10,000 BCE. They're made of clay. 2 bison, one over here and one over here. Again with the bison. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. This one, the bison licking its flank, is a fragmentary atlatl from La Madeleine, France, circa 12,000. Reindeer antler. An atlatl is kind of like a spear thrower. It's a little device that you hold in your hand, and that makes it easier for a person to throw a spear straight and hopefully reach its target. But this thing is in the shape again of a bison. I'm telling you, they were crazy about these bison. There's more bison. Detail of a painted ceiling in the cave at Altamira, Spain, 13,000 to 11,000 BCE. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that these caves are simply not available. They're closed to the public. And if you go and you see or look at cave paintings, they're going to be replicas because they don't want all those tourists coming in looking at the original because that'll just ruin it. So I think they've set up replicas for people to look at. But I'm just showing you again bison so you can see how many times they like to show you the bison. Here's this spotted horses, again in France, spotted horses with negative handprints. You can see one here, 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 maybe here, I'm not sure. 23,000 to 22,000 BCE. This whole thing, I guess, this whole wall that you're looking at is 11 feet and 2 inches long. What's up with the horses? I don't know, but they seem important. Here's another horse, and this is kind of a lead in to what I'll be talking about in a minute. This is a running horse, allegedly. detail of the left wall in the axial gallery of the cave at Lascaux, France, circa 16,000 to 14,000 BCE. The horse is 4 feet 11 inches long. Look at this. Some people say the horse is pregnant. I don't know. I just don't know. Again, this is a prehistoric artist trying to do a rendering of what a horse would look like with the art supplies, quote unquote art supplies, that they would have had at the time. They really need to, go shopping at Blick Art Materials. Um, and then they have this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Above the horse, this thing that looks like a fork or a comb. This thing. Keep that in mind, because we're going to get back to that in a second, or the idea of that. Then this is the last one. Again, another cave in France, the Chauvet Cave. Oryx, horses, and woolly rhinoceroses. Wall painting in the Chauvet Cave, Vallon-Pont d'Arc, France, 34,000 or 32,000. Again, these animals and the images of these animals, some of these are pretty darn good drawings, I must say. They're drawn over and over and over again, one on top of the other. So that's what makes me also think that this is possibly a religious ritual. The creation of these drawings at all in this environment or whatever is part of a religious ritual. I don't know. What do you all think? Again, because, and you know what's the most wonderful part? These people didn't leave behind any written records because they didn't have writing, at least not writing as we know it, or writing as it was developed in Mesopotamia. So we get to guess as much as we want, and none of us have to really run the risk of being wrong about any of this. So let me just show you the last slide that I want to show you. The woolly rhinoceros, that's over here. Wounded man, this is over here, the wounded man. And the disemboweled bison. And you can tell that the bison is disemboweled because its guts are hanging out back here. This is a painting in the well of the cave at Lascaux, France, circa 16,000 to 14,000 BCE. The bison, this over here, is 3 feet and 4.5 inches long. Regarde. Okay? Or regardez. Look at it. Look at it. This is a very weird scene. And I'm going to take another break real quick and then come back and finish up with this and finish up with some interesting stuff that I've been reading about. So stay tuned, you guys. Okay, you guys. I'm back. Anyway, want to wrap this up. We're like I said, we are looking at, or maybe I didn't say it. I don't know. This image, woolly rhinoceros, wounded man, and disemboweled bison, painting in the well of the cave at Lascaux, France, 16,000 to 14,000 BCE. Okay, and the bison is 3 feet and 4.5 inches long. Again, this is possibly the first narrative work of art in history. Okay? Like I said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it might very well be telling some kind of a story. They're debating. They still are not sure as to whether or not the rhinoceros over here on the left belongs to the rest of this composition. Let's just call it. We got the bison with its guts hanging out. We got the man lying down, wounded, I guess. That's what the title says. And the man is kind of like a glorified stick figure. We can't really tell what's going on. There was obviously a struggle. The bison is disemboweled. The man is lying down. He's in bad shape. Also the man has this weird bird head, which makes me think, kind of like this image over here of the human with the feline head. This man in the woolly rhinoceros, wounded man, and disemboweled bison painting, the man with the bird head might be a shaman, a priest, a magician, something like that. And maybe this is yet another scene or story from whatever it is that these people believed in at the time, their mythology, their religious beliefs. There's also this bird looking thing on a stick that does seem to belong to this wounded man and disemboweled bison situation. But why? Why is there a bird on a stick? Or is it a stick? Maybe the bird just has very long legs. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe the bird is connected to the bird-headed man, and maybe this is a representation of the bird-headed man's spirit or soul. If the bird-headed man is a shaman or a priest of some kind, and this is a religious story, maybe this is a story from mythology, and maybe birds, maybe these people at the time felt that birds represented the soul. I don't know, but there's a lot to think about here. And again, we're dealing with this damn bison again. All right, we're not going to get rid of this animal ever. Okay, bison, bulls, bovine creatures, they're still with us. They're still with us. They're still prominently displayed in art and culture and whatever to this very day. To this very day in the world. Okay? Like, we can just concentrate on the Western world for now, but in the Western world, the bull means something still. I mean, for Christ's sake, we still have, like, astrology and, like, the astrological sign Taurus. That's the bull. That is the bull. And, like, I'm not even going to get into it now. I will wait until we get to Greece, or, the kind of the Aegean Sea island cultures of Greece, to talk about the palace at Knossos and the what's his face, King Minos, and the Minotaur, and all that. I'll wait until then. We will get to that, but I'm not going to talk about that now. But the bull is important. The bull, the bovine creatures are so important in religious stories. To this day, we have a representation of them in art pretty regularly. So that's all I have to say about these slides now. Like I said, don't forget this one, right? Don't forget this image with this kind of weird fork comb looking thing above the horse. Okay, now let me show you what I found. This. Okay, you know me. You know I've got my tabs lined up. This is an old article that I read a long time ago. But it's from 2016. And New Scientist, now they put their stuff behind a paywall. Look at this. Back in the day, they didn't. But anyway, this is interesting. I wanted you to know about this. Wanted to show you this. Code says here, a New Scientist. The category is humans. Oh my God. Code hidden in Stone Age art may be the root of human writing. Hello. Or as I've been saying lately, helloskis. Okay, a painstaking investigation of Europe's cave art has revealed 32 shapes and lines that crop up again and again and could be the world's oldest code. Now, this is an article from November 2016. All right, so like almost exactly 7 years ago, right? And they use this image as an example. Spot the signs. Geometric forms can be found in paintings as at Marsulas in France. Now, I don't have, there's the comb again. Look at it. It's over here. Look at that. I'm sure there's more stuff in here, but I don't have that kind of time. Okay. And this article, I remember reading it in its entirety before they threw everything behind a paywall. But I'll read you this first paragraph, at least. When she first saw the necklace, Genevieve von Petzinger feared the trip halfway around the globe to the French village of Les Esiers de Taillac had been in vain. The dozens of ancient deer teeth laid out before her, each one pierced like a bead, looked roughly the same. It was only when she flipped one over that the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. On the reverse were three etched symbols, a line, an X, and another line. Okay, now check out my article on my new blog about the letter X. Okay, but never mind that. Von Petzinger, a paleoanthropologist from the University of Victoria in Canada, is spearheading an unusual study of cave art. Her interest lies not in the breathtaking paintings of bulls, horses, and bison that usually spring to mind, but in the smaller, geometric symbols frequently found alongside them. Her work has convinced her that far from being random doodles, the simple shapes represent a fundamental shift in our ancestors' mental skills. Okay. Says here, I know it fades out, but I'll read it. The first formal writing system that we know of is the 5,000-year-old cuneiform script of the ancient city of Uruk in what is now Iraq. But it, and other systems like it, such as Egyptian hieroglyphs, are complex and didn't emerge from a vacuum. There must have been an earlier time when people first started playing with the simple abstract signs. Okay, that's it. Now, there's more. I have other links that kind of buttress this. Then we have this one. This is an interesting one. I don't know, but it looks like somebody's blog. It's called The Origins of Language, an exploration of prehistoric linguistic phases, okay? And it's about language evolution. In this article, we will explore how language originated and developed in prehistoric times, combining language reconstruction and information theory with generous amounts of conjecture to arrive at a consistent view of language evolution. From beyond the mists of time, we will try to build a few defensible positions, or at the very least lay a path to future discovery. Now, I'm gonna just scroll through this. You can look through this however you like, whenever you like. Okay, and they talk about this, the author of this talks about von Petzinger, okay? There's also the opposite belief. The language is already fully formed, at least 100 KYA. I don't know what that means. I'll have to look it up. A good review can be found in von Petzinger in this, I guess, clickable link. The supporting evidence is intriguing, but certainly not bulletproof. Geometric patterns engraved on common items and personal adornment during the Middle Paleolithic. We have, however, reviewed how polysyllables appeared much later in the game in some language families, right before or during the Neolithic period. Monosyllabic languages simply do not have the necessary breadth of vocabulary to incorporate features such as gender, declination, or even tense. Okay, we're not interested in this right now. But this is an interesting article. I do remember reading it a while ago, and I wanted to provide it for you if you would like to read it. Look at this. This is part of the reason, or one of the main reasons why I'm here. The geometric signs of Ice Age Europe. Okay, and this is recurrent symbols across Upper Paleolithic Europe, and this is from von Petzinger, used with, I guess, von Petzinger's permission. Look at this. There's the asterisk. There's the aviform. That means it looks like a bird. Circle, claviform, cordiform, crosshatch, cruciform, the X, cupule, dots, finger fluting, flabelliform, half circle, line, those hands that I showed you, the negative hand, open angle, oval, pectiform. That's a comb. That's something that looks like a comb or a fork. Penniform. I guess that means it looks like some kind of pine tree. Positive hand. So there's negative hand, positive hand. There's quadrangle, reniform, scalariform, segmented cruciform, serpentiform, Spanish tectiform, spiral, tectiform, triangle, unciform, W sign, Y sign, and zigzag. Lord, so there's 32 of them that they've, I guess, counted and cataloged and whatever. There are also cup and ring marks from later periods, and probably many more overlooked marks. Do they represent concepts of some kind, or are they just pretty designs? I don't know if I'd ever call any of these pretty, but whatever. Are marks more likely to represent functions, words, or are they content words? With a more concrete language description in mind, it is conceivable that these inscriptions might be deciphered or at least put in context. Okay. So, there's a cute little chart, the one that I just showed you. And yes, I'm going to link to this in the description. Then there's this. I think this is another article on von Petzinger's work. In 2010, Genevieve von Petzinger, based in Canada, initiated an unprecedented survey of ancient geometric signs. Okay, to me, this is amazing because language rules everything around us. And for years and years and years, you know, academics, scholars, experts have been trying to figure out what the origin of language is. Is this it? Are these symbols in cave paintings and what have you from the Stone Age? Are those the origins of language as we know it? I don't know, but looks to me like they're onto something, right? Anyway, geometric signs have long been considered as important, and no cave art researcher has neglected them, at least since Leroy Gorhan's seminal work in the mid-1960s. What is new and exciting in Genevieve von Petzinger's research is, thanks to the possibilities of the computer, she has completed a database of the geometric signs from 146 painted caves, attempting to analyze their relationship to one another. Genevieve, who has recently completed an MA degree in anthropology at the University of Victoria in British Columbia, Canada, is researching the geometric signs present in rock art sites in Ice Age France. Her MA research focused on their large-scale temporal and spatial patterning. Are geometric signs the first steps towards symbolism? This might be the case in some contexts, for example, at Byombos in South Africa towards 75,000 BP, or in Australia with the Panna Marite style. Dr. Jean Klotz, however, feels this is not so in the European painted caves. The signs in the caves are always or nearly always associated with animal figures, and thus cannot be said to be the first steps towards symbolism. Why? Oh, see, this is the kind of shit that pisses me off. Oh, this makes me angry. Like, here's this von Petzinger person, and they're obviously onto something, and then here comes this, Mr. or Mrs. Establishment saying, oh, no, that's not at all what's going on. Oh, okay. All right. Thus cannot be said to be the first steps towards symbolism. Why not? God damn it. Besides, the animal figures are probably as symbolic as the signs. Okay, cool. So you just need to work harder to figure out, like, what it might possibly mean. Jesus. Such is the case in the Niaux cave in the foothills of the French Pyrenees. The main entrance to Niaux leads into a large and even floored cavern. uh, wide and high ceilinged. The cave walls are smooth and clear, but empty of cave art. For the first 400 meters, there are no paintings or engravings, but at a particular point, the open cavern becomes restricted, caused by an ancient collapse of enormous jagged boulders from the ceiling. I told you these caves are dangerous. Here there is a choice. One can continue into the cave by climbing with considerable difficulty up over the debris, or else squeeze through a narrow but level passage to the left. As one emerges from this, and on either side of the opening, the paintings begin as symbols. Simple linear lines in red seem to mark the beginning of the painted cave, the beginning of the experience. These enigmatic and understated decorations continue with 100 or so red and black geometric signs, dashes, bars, lines, and series of dots, some painted using tools, some using fingers. The red is hematite. The black is either manganese dioxide or charcoal, both ground and mixed with water or fat. They have been daubed strategically, sometimes opposite each other, sometimes on either side of a conspicuous fissure. Shortly after this, the animal figures appear, and the prehistoric dialogue continues to unfold. This is fascinating to me. This is absolutely fascinating to me. And this is kind of what I'm obsessed with. As you can maybe have seen with my videos where I analyze anything, whether it's The Shining, whether it's my Understanding the Shining series, or my film analysis thing with The Shining, or Eraserhead, or Twin Peaks, or Kill Bill, or anything. I'm kind of like obsessed with the idea of symbolism and how it can be used to tell a story, or how should I put this? To tell a story, to tell a silent story alongside the story that you're already watching in the movie. So, like, if you go back and you look at some of my videos about, like, The Shining, and where I go through, like, the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, or the radiators, or the vents, or, now I'm working on the number 42 in 1942. This is a very complex use of symbolism that Stanley is doing. Or The Exorcist. I need to work some more on that movie. I really do. But never have enough time. Or energy or strength or patience. There's a lot that goes into it. But with just concentrating on Stanley right now, what he does, in my opinion, just my opinion, is an extremely complicated use of symbolism. Okay, those vents, for example, that I noticed in the Colorado Lounge and other places in the movie, in other rooms of the hotel, and even the apartment in Boulder. Like, what the hell is up with those? Okay, I found them. I noticed them. I noticed their presence. I noticed their absence. I noticed that in some cases they appear and disappear, specifically in the Colorado Lounge. Okay, and that's the first step, noticing, seeing that something is different, something is off, or whatever. Like I said, you got to look for the stuff in The Shining that doesn't make sense. Okay, don't worry. I mean, yeah, don't worry about the stuff that makes sense. That's like whatever. But the stuff that doesn't make sense, like an unplugged TV with no antenna, with a perfectly clear picture in the middle of a blizzard that has taken out the telephone lines. That don't make enough sense. So whatever's on that TV must be very important. Okay? And the title of the movie, maybe not as much as the subject matter, but the title of the movie, especially in the context of Stanley showing us, obviously and not so obviously, the number 42 in other places in the movie, that tells us it's important. Okay? And he's using it kind of like what they're talking about here, this naysayer, who's kind of poo-pooing von Petzinger's work, says, well, these symbols, don't ever happen all by themselves. They're always next to animals, and the animal figures are probably as symbolic as the signs. Okay, like, really? Okay, so what is possibly going on in these caves with, the animal pictures? Like, I'll show you. I just showed you. Look at this is a pretty good example of that. The horse, and then this comb-looking thing, fork-looking thing. So the main thing that's supposed to get your attention right away is visually the horse, but then the comb is above it, and they're probably meant to be processed mentally together. Okay, so maybe the horse is the main event, and then the comb symbol, or fork or whatever, is meant to tell another story, or have some support the main story in some way. I don't know. But that's kind of what Stanley's doing in The Shining, and all of his other movies, probably. There's the main thing, the story that you're paying attention to, because it's like in your face. But then there's the other little stuff that is just as important as the main story or the main picture. And maybe, in some cases, even more so. Because, like my latest video, the number 42, 1942, summer of 42, whatever. Like, in the context of the narrative that we're being shown, having to do with the Torrance family in the hotel, like, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't seem to make any sense. Maybe I should say that. But whatever the 42s mean might be, like, way more important than the main story that is obvious to us when we're watching the movie regarding the family and the dysfunction and whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, what else does it say here? Did I just read this? Are the geometric signs a scripture that can eventually be deciphered? Gosh, I hope so. More research must be carried out before we answer this. At the moment, our understanding of geometric signs is that they do not have the characteristics of quote-unquote writing, which entails not only ideograms or pictograms, whose diverse meanings are entirely cultural, allegedly. Moreover, they do not have a syntax. How do you know? Yeah. See, this bugs me. This bugs me. They don't qualify this at all. They just say they do not have a syntax. Really? How can you be so sure? How can you be so sure? Sheesh. If there are not the systematic repetitions to be found in a well-ordered syntax, we will never be able to guess at the precise meaning of the ideograms, or even less at their organization within a panel. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Here's some more. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to continue reading this. It's huge, but this is an interesting part of this, and this is well worth the price of admission, or just clicking on the link that I provide in the description. Worldwide geometric signs chart. Look at this. They've got North America, South America, France, Spain, Portugal, hello, Czech Republic, Italy, North Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, China, India, Burma, what is this? Borneo, Malaysia, New Guinea, Australia. Really? Really? And this infographic having to do with all of these different signs. Look at it. Aviform, circle, claviform, quartiform, crosshatch, cruciform. So the pound sign has been around for quite some time. Cruciform, the X, cupule, dot, half circle, oval, line, negative hand, open angle, penniform, pectiform. So the comb, I keep forgetting, the comb is the pectiform. Positive hand, quadrangle, reniform, scalariform, serpentiform, spiral, tectiform, triangle, zigzag. Okay. And like, which one is the most frequently found in the world? 20%, 10%, 7%, 27, 5, 25, okay. 42, 15, 70, okay. All right, 70. So it seems like the most frequent ones are the dots, and that's 42%, and the open angle, that's also 42%. Interesting, interesting, interesting. But what else does it say down here? And there's a typology. Okay. All right. To me, this is fascinating. This is just fascinating. You guys, what is going on here? Like, there's so much to think about. There's so much to speculate and use your imagination and creative thinking to kind of figure out. Like, first of all, why did they paint these animals, these pictures in these caves in the first place? Second of all, why are they accompanied by these symbols? What's going on? Like, what is going on? And what could it mean? Because this is the beginning. This is before civilization. Like I said, these people were having a hard enough time just surviving in that environment, and they took the time and the energy and the effort and the everything to make these paintings, this art in these caves, and accompany those those images with these symbols. It must mean something pretty important if they went to the trouble of doing it. Let me show you one more resource. This is Prehistoric Abstract Signs, and it actually has the picture that I just showed you from the slides, the Chinese horse, Lascaux Cave. I don't know why it's called the Chinese horse, but the Lascaux Cave, Dordogne, France. Note that the pectiform, yep, above the horse's head, and the feathery penniform signs on either side of its front legs, there they are. For a list of the 100 earliest artworks, the oldest Stone Age art. Okay, cool. And you can look up every single different one of these prehistoric symbols that are found in these caves, and you can like look up maybe not so much a definition, but kind of an explanation, like aviform. There it is. Circle, claviform, cordiform, crosshatch. To me, cruciform, you know, the X that we've been talking about. Let me read this just because I did a whole little essay on it in my on my blog. Characteristics. The typical cruciform symbol is named after the Latin word for cross-shaped, having a simple construction of two perpendicular intersecting lines. Prevalence. Prevalence and location. Cruciforms are found in roughly 13% of French sites. They appear exclusively in southern France, with the strongest concentrations in the Dordogne-Lot region and in the Pyrenees. Cruciforms may have endured in Spain. Okay. Dating. Cruciform signs, not unlike crosshatch symbols, were most popular during the early Magdalenian, with very few instances in the Aurignacian or Gravettian periods. Okay. Examples. French caves that contain cruciform symbols include Cosquet Cave, Calanque de Morgeau, Marseille, Grotte du Roc, Les Aisiers, Dordogne, Le Pepetier Cave, and Soillac, and Lot. Okay, So this is telling us that it's exclusive to France, southern France. That's really interesting. What I was gonna say is, and I'll just scroll through this while I talk. Um, is this the is I? It seems to me plain as day that this is the precursor to language as we know it. Because when you really think about letters or characters in any given language, they're symbols. They're symbols, and when you see that symbol on paper, that symbol means when you read this symbol out loud or make the sound associated with that symbol in your language, whichever one you speak, this is what it's supposed to sound like. And then you take it with another symbol that makes another sound. And, before long you have words and you have sentences and you have paragraphs and you have communication and meaning. That is the point of art. That's always been the point of art. What we call art, Again, art is a difficult word. Communication. That's been the point of the whole, in my opinion. This is just Miss M talking. Um, that's been the point of the whole thing since day one. Communicating. Communicating. And I mean, again, I'm obsessed with Stanley Kubrick, The Shining, also now David Lynch, and what have you. Have you noticed? I don't know if you have, but like with a movie like The Shining, a movie like Eraserhead, even like Twin Peaks, they're not very dialogue heavy, or they don't seem so to me, right? The script, the whatever the actors say talking, it seems like not a lot compared to the amount of imagery, the amount of just visual stuff that Stanley and David, our Stanley, our David, give us to look at in their creations, in their productions. That's much more difficult than just listening to dialogue, than just listening to people say words. You are forced to look at a picture and figure out like what's going on in the story just based on an image. And sometimes an image that is not on the screen for very long. It's like blink and you'll miss it. They're making you work. That's even harder to do. Reading pictures is even harder, in my opinion, than reading text, than reading words on paper or wherever. It requires more of you. It requires higher concentration. It requires deeper scrutiny, and then trying to make sense of whatever it is that you're looking at, whatever it is that you're being shown. Remember I talked in one of these videos, I don't remember which one, about the Schoen report, and that the Schoen report is not lying. When you look at The Shining, if you listen carefully, you will hear the word shown whispered by somebody. Is that Stanley? Is that somebody else's voice? I don't know. But you can definitely hear the word shown. That means he has shown you something. And in that very moment in the movie, he's shown you something that is important. How and why is it important? That's a whole nother story. But that's something that we need to figure out. Oh, I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. Let me go back to the slides for a second. I don't know which one of these I'm going to use for my thumbnail. It's going to be one of them. Probably these bulls. It's pretty, in its own way. But I think I've said everything that I really wanted to say with regard to these slides and everything for this presentation. I hope I've given you something to think about, something to turn over and over and over in your head like a grilled cheese sandwich, or even like French toast, whatever you turn over in a frying pan, bacon, steak, doesn't matter. Um, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've given you something to think about. Uh, I'm going to be doing, like I said, I'm going to be doing more work on 42, the summer of 42. Yeah, best believe I'll be working on that. And yeah, I'm going to try and be getting back to Twin Peaks, more Stanley movies. Um, I don't know which one. I don't know which one I'm going to watch next. Is it going to be Spartacus? Is it going to be Clockwork? Is it going to be maybe I'll just start from the beginning, like his earliest one. Which one was that? The Killer's Kiss or something like that? I don't know. Um we have much to discuss. We have much to discuss. Uh can't wait to, hopefully you'll enjoy this video that I'm making right now about prehistoric art, art history 101, Stone Age, prehistoric art, an informal, one-sided discussion. I can't wait to see your comments, see what you have to say. If anything, let me know. Let me know what you think. I really like reading your comments. Um, they make me happy. So, you guys, I'm going to reiterate my church announcements, and I'm going to let you go. Hope you enjoyed. You've had time to drink a gallon of coffee by now. So, but anyway, returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. If you know anybody who might be interested in this kind of thing, let them know. Send them a link. I would appreciate that so much. If you have any ideas, let me know. If you have anything that you would like me to talk about, look at, react to, whatever, let me know. Did I say please don't forget to comment, like, comment, subscribe, and share? I don't even know anymore. This is a long video. So, and I can't wait for the comments, like I said. So, until next time, I think my next video will be a continuation of this 1942, Summer of 42 video. We shall see. But until next time, you guys, until the next time when I find yet another reason to talk at you in one of these videos, I'll go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.